This is about the dream of inclusion. This is about the beloved community. We must love, honor, and respect all people. Amen. And keep the dream alive.
Thank y'all for coming out, for showing out, for turning out, and showing the world that we are all part of the beloved community. When we fail to call out bigotry and oppression and discrimination on a day like today, we abandon the dream. We desecrate the legacy. And we know that we're on the move. A change has already come in America, and we are part of that change. Thank you for demonstrating the change to America and reminding this nation and the world that there's still more change to come. Thank you. We recognize that certainly as Black LGBT folks specifically, that we have connections with the King Center and Ebenzer and the communities that we represent, those of us that have the responsibility or are called leaders, right? That means you're representing in many ways communities, and what you do has an impact in terms of community relations. We want to have continued relationships with those institutions and the people that we're reaching out to. And so we were, again, it was so important for us to have a tone that was affirming and at the same time not disrespecting the service, not antagonizing the people that were, coming to attend that service.
I think it's important that we realize that there are a lot of people, including myself, who just an act of being at that demonstration was enough of a protest, kind of divorcing yourself from the mainstream King celebration to stand in solidarity with this sub-community, some people would perceive. So there are a lot of, other factors, but for me at least, it was a moment of solidarity with the rest of my community.
I pretty much second that. As I don't really feel like you said, that Rick Warren makes any difference to me. I am a member of the LGBT community, and I wanted to be sure that the T was represented in a civil rights act that involves the total community. And I wanted to make my opposition to the man a part of theirs. I mean, because I would hope that the community would stand with us if there was some specific issue that was significant to us, that only involved us, like the Betty Beth Glenn issue and her dismissal from the legislature. I would hope that the LGBT community would rally around that young lady. You see what I'm saying? We all have different issues, but we're all the same family.
I think in one of the email exchanges that we had, I remember someone mentioning that it was an act of demonstration for us just to be on the street corner and being visibly open as gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender people of color. That's not something that you see every day, and I think it was very important that, for lack of a better term, to have a black face attached to this protest/demonstration, because it's not very often that you see people who look like you, who look like us as people of color, on the front lines fighting for equality when it comes to LGBT issues. And this was our issue, and I'm glad that the coalition actually spearheaded this issue, because it was happening. It started with the inauguration, with this invitation to inauguration, but then it came to our home turf. It was happening here in Atlanta at Ebenzer on one of the most prestigious days of the year, King Day. So I think it was only fitting that a blackface was attached to it. And it was just powerful just to see so many people come together of all races, of all hues, but to have black people, queer people, spearheading the movement, I think it was an act of rebellion by itself.
I think it's really important in queer communities to practice letting communities of color lead, because that is not something that happens very often, and it's an important exercise as we within LGBTQ communities build a more loving and just community with each other, between organizations, between sub-communities.
I'm troubled with the let part. Let me just say that. I know this is not that section, But for those of y'all who know me, I'm just going to try to break the rules whenever I can. But the left part, and let me just say this, and I truly don't mean this in a form of attack. I'm one of the members of the Atlanta Black LGBT Coalition, and one of the things that reasons we formed, we came together, was because of that dynamic that we have to infiltrate and re-educate to something different. Because what we got tired of was tagging on to the white face of the queer community, leading issues that predominantly affect us or that greatly affect us. Now, our faces would be snatched into the mix, okay? But the motivation was not coming from us. And then when we would be in the round table, as quiet as this cat, but this is the real, that we would be in those circles when our voices got too loud or it didn't start speaking in the way that it was desired, we got pushed out of those things. So what we decided was, we're not going to do that anymore. So there's not letting of anything. What the phrase that we have to begin to work on is that the community, when the issues affect us, when they're driven out of our community, look to us. And step to the side and ask, how can we support you in moving forward? And that to me is the beginning and the end of where Atlanta's multiracial community is going to come together around human rights. Because for too long, one of the things that has happened is, and we've seen it, is that when an issue would come across, and I'm not picking any one organization, they said, well, let me give Craig a call, let me give Marianne a call, let me give Imani a call, let me give Darlene a call, and let them be the face so the rest of the black community know it's okay. And then what they didn't know is that we were grappling with the issues at the round table because our voices would be silenced in many ways. So that to me is the consciousness, and one of the things that the Atlanta's queer community, white queer community, has been grappling with from Black Pride on. Okay, every time Black Pride comes, is dealing with our own issues of racism within our community and believing that we are exempt from it, because we are not. And we have to all challenge ourselves, whether we're black in this room, Latino, white, whatever we are, challenge ourselves where we experience privilege, because all of us have those spaces. And to really move to a real place of equality, we have to challenge ourselves in that.
Thank you.
It was a struggle, we had to wrestle with not only whether or not this was the right move, but then how does it feel when some people when we haven't reached full consensus, right? How do people support each other when they're not necessarily supporting that particular tactic? I'm glad that for the most part, the coalition did have an overall sense of support for this move. We recognized that we weren't clear about who was going to show up. We had concerns that in terms of how many black people were going to show up. How many black people in particular would be comfortable with standing on the corner of Jackson and Auburn in a confrontational stance on King Weekend, knowing that a few hours later, on King Weekend, hours before we be in a march, where we be walking in the midst of a sea of black folks that know a few hours earlier we were standing across from a church on King Weekend. King's Church, no less. And so it was certainly an act of courage and an act of we had a lot of an internal reflection and struggle around that. And I hope that struggle continues.